power outages has affected the U.S. capital, Washington. Power cuts affected several government buildings, including the White House, State Department, Capitol, and Justice Department. The State Department's daily news briefing was suspended after power was lost. A department announcement said the main building and other nearby buildings were affected because electricity feeders were down. According to the city's transportation authorities, some metro stations in Washington were running on emergency lighting. For an update on the Washington power cuts, we are joined on the line by SABC U.S. correspondent Sherwin Bryce-Peace. Sherwin, what's the latest on the reports of power cuts in Washington?
Pretty much what you summed up in your introduction. I am on the Power Utilities Twitter page, and I can tell you that. Let me just read you some of the tweets. PEPCO is saying that we are currently working to repair the transmission equipment fault in Charles County, Maryland. Maryland, of course, is one of the states that borders Washington, D.C., where this power outage is sentenced. They also talk about there was never a loss of permanent electric supply, but a dip in the voltage caused equipment at some facilities to transfer to backup systems. So there have been some reports that we've seen talking about there being an explosion at a power station. I'm not able to confirm that, based on what PEPCO is basically saying on their Twitter page. But in addition to that, you mentioned that the State Department, the White House, various museums experiencing this dip in power. But a lot of these buildings also have backup facilities, much like the SABC would have if there was a power outage. So the power is on in D.C. It might have been interrupted very briefly, but my understanding is that they are not in complete darkness as we speak.
Sherwin, any indication as to whether the power cuts were in and around Washington only, or did it affect other parts of the country?
What we do know is that as many as 8,000 customers in the nation's capital, in Washington, D.C., have been affected. I have not yet seen reports of surrounding areas. We understand, places like the Washington metro system, for example, which you mentioned, the subway system that basically transports the millions of people in and around that region. They went down very briefly, but also now running on backup power. And in my experience of power outages, rare as they are, is that something happened at a transformer, or as they talk about here, a transmission equipment fault. No one has said this is terrorism. No one has ruled it out. So we'll wait until we get confirmation as to what the cause really was. But really, in a city like Washington, D.C., this sort of event will put the security apparatus on high alert. You have a lot of important people in Washington, ambassadors, cabinet ministers, visiting delegations, and that sort of thing. So we expect some elevation in security levels until we can confirm that this outage does not pose any threats, perhaps beyond a candlelit dinner.
We'll have to leave it there, Sherwin. Thanks for the update.